Hello, once more. Welcome to the cellar. 2024 drawing to a close. Let's have a little bit of a look back and end up running a few trains and see where we get to. And I've had an N gauge layout for a while. Decided early part 2024 I was going to move over to using a 00 gauge one, so I could do a few more experiments. The N gauge one will feature at some point, but not soon. This little loco is the first one I bought. The intention initially was I'm going to run these backwards towards my desk while I try and work out what I want to do with them. So what we did, got a few bits of track, soldered some wires to it, and here we have a simple DC pulse width modulation controller. It's an Arduino with a little motor board. Twiddle the knob and the speed changes, press the buttons, the direction changes. As you can see, it's a really detailed, in-depth layout, but it worked. This was followed by a trip down into the cellar with an old shelf, which got turned into a little bit of a test track here. So again, this has got a couple of little wires in. Track raised up on a bed. I thought I can play with some scenery on this, which I've never got round to. A little gap underneath it so I can play with some more of the electronics. That's the little layout I came up with. Yeah, taking that back upstairs, you can see a couple of little 3D printed brackets it sits on. This just sits on my desk. Plugs in fairly easily, and you can see one of the other locos. I've got my little J52, I think it is, with a Kosher 2 behind it. This is a 3-foot long track. It just shuttles back and forth. Gives me a way to test locos I've picked up off eBay without having to DCC fit them. Simple enough. As also we have the little gap underneath it here. This is experimenting with radio frequency identification. This is something that will feature on the main layout at some point. Here we are. I've tagged the locomotive and some of the coaches. So this tells me what the loco is, and it'll tell me a bit about the train more than just an ID number, which could be useful. Now, about this time, it became quite clear that the amount of work that was going to be required to get a layout in the garage wasn't going to work. So I turned my attention to the cellar. Here we are, the very early stages where I'd started painting the walls white. And this was the dawn of Leopard Street. Now a little bit more of the prep work going in here. This is the first stages of the lighting, because the fluorescent strip tubes that were down there weren't really suitable. So this went in. This is about most of the board area I've actually got done now on the ceiling. I still need to finish this one off. But suitable location, shelves painted. Yeah, and here we get, still in May, the beginnings of the actual baseboard. This is board A, the first one that was built. This is before I'd removed the old boiler, which is the scrappy area over to the right of it. 9mm ply, 44mm I think square timber, some glue, and what could possibly go wrong? Yeah, sort of carried on with this, and it didn't take too long before I got this done. This is the first of the 12-foot lengths. You can see the mess behind it. You can also see that none of the legs are particularly square at this point, which became a bit more of a problem later. Planning ahead would have been better here. So that then followed around, and we ended up here with the framing. I sort of decided I want to get all of the basic framing done before I started putting the decks on any of it, because otherwise it was just all going to end up covered in clutter, and I'd probably never end up finishing it. So here we are with some clamps still on there, with the basic framing completed. This took probably about 2 weeks to 3 weeks to get to this point. Yeah, the deck started. This was the first board to get its deck on it. This is board H now. This is where the controller lives in the first corner. This is a tight piece of track that will feature later in this video as well. Sort of showing how we progressed on with this. Yeah, towards the end of June, the cork started to go down the track beds. The upper deck work was mostly finished here. So it was rapidly approaching starting to lay some track. Again, you can see a cutout here where the RFID will eventually feature. That's in the future. We shifted into July. This is where the first powered movement, the Flying Scotsman, dug up. You're looking about the extent of the track I had at that point and all the mess that was in the background. The little Arduino DCC-XX system down there in the corner. And we carried on from there, really. Got to September, and I sort of figured I needed to start the channel here. This was basically to help give myself a little bit more incentive to keep going. As you can see here, the stripy track inspector occasionally gets down into the cellar where she's not allowed, but doesn't stop her. This is Smudge, bless her, who is currently stopping some track escaping there, and is right now stopping a radiator from escaping. So that's the 5-minute guide to where Leopard Street came from. At some point I'll do some more detailed stuff on this and on the Engage layout that preceded it and why I actually started all of this. But I thought for wrap the year up, a little bit of context here that yeah, the layout really started middle of the year. Got to the end of the year, the 2 main loops are running. I'm working on some of the other bits and pieces here. So yeah, on to a little bit of a running session and the discovery of a slight technical hitch that's going to cause a little bit of track work to have to be redone. Here we are, year end. It's over 300 subscribers now, which is like seriously wow. Very appreciative of all of that. That's quite incredible. Just a quick little retrospective. I was going to be shooting some video of 2 trains going round. I thought I'll set the A1, I'll have the A2 going round. Yeah, slight problem. They don't go past each other on this curve. This is the tightest curve on the layout. Everywhere else is fine. The inner one there is 18 inch, which as you can see the Scotsman goes around quite nicely. The A2 goes around it quite nicely as well. The outer curve, these are at streamline spacing and it's a little bit too close on that. So at some point this outer curve is going to need lifting and moving about half an inch over. I'm basically going to have to lift it from over there and just bring it around here slightly wider. The problem being I can't move those points because that's about as far up that way as they can go, and obviously I've laid all of that, so it's just going to be bowing this loop here out a little bit more. Yeah, so anyway, there's that. But the rest of it's working. I've been working on some other bits and pieces. So come around here, and we have the next 2 board controllers. This should be allowing me to power up these 3 points here fairly shortly. I thought I'd run out of the original expansion boards I need to drive the servos and the relays, but turns out I haven't. I've got a few more. So anyway, here we have a few trains running. So we have the Hornby, and I forget what the number is. Oh, actually, look over here. This is R2675. This is the Flying Scotsman from the railroad range. There's an MX600, I think it is. Let's check. 600R, one of these fitted inside it, which is why this one's running around nicely now. And yeah, reliable, runs very smoothly, will crawl, and at this sort of speed, which is the sort of speed I'm likely to be running them at, yeah, perfect. And this is about half speed. And after I did a little bit of work on the track, cleaning a few little knobbly bits up here and there, sorting a little bit of alignment out, very reliable, runs lovely. Bring her around and bring her to a halt and set the A2 going. Just these 2 going together looks really good, but like I say, they rather unfortunately collide, which is slightly annoying. It's only a little bit, but it's enough. Now this one is R3833, which is the A2/3 with an unpronounceable name. Much more detailed, although I have to say, when they're chundering around on their own, you don't really notice it all that much. And she does look better, but in a sort of way that's quite hard to put your finger on. So yeah, so this is another, I mean, these are the sort of length trains I'm going to be running as well. I can run a little bit longer, the bays will take it, the eventual station probably won't, however. I'd say, yeah, they just hit each other about on this little bit here, just slightly annoying. But that's my fault for not measuring things up correctly in the first place. Basically, that track spacing should have been a little bit greater. So, we have the schoolboy on the roof shot. And yeah, And we've got, like I say, the some more controller boards set up here. These are only partially built. I've got to add the light. There's a lighting controller socket to go on, and we'll go on here. And then early in the new year, hopefully, we're going to be starting some automation experiments. And for now, I can deal with this little track section problem here by having the automation system just say longer locomotives, one on this curve at a time. Hold the signals over there if the other one's coming round until one's cleared, then it can release and it can come in. Eventually that's how the layout will pretty much operate anyway, because trains coming down that line will end up going over this diamond, so it'll be one train in that section anyway, because they'll be heading off into what will eventually be some reversing loops, which I'll get round to. But yeah, it's just a quick little update. I say of 300 odd subscribers now, which frankly I find jaw-dropping. Yes. More coming in the new year. Until then, Happy New Year, everybody, and I'll just focus on that a little bit. Letty's actually upstairs at the moment, because that's where he lives, because it's cold down here. And thank you very much, everybody, and I will see you in the new year.